That's a Shame is brought to you by the people who support us over at patreon.com/shamecity.
If you have $1,
$2.
$1 to spare, join us again at patreon.com/shamecity. Please.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
Hello and welcome to another free Sunday/Monday episode of your it's your favourite podcast. It's That's a Shame.
It's in my top 3.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
You say that as if we're not number one.
I didn't say we weren't number one.
You say that as if is what I
said.
said.
No, but I don't like to rank things like that.
Right.
Because art, it's hard
But
to
you wouldn't have to
quantify.
because it, like, de facto, we're just...
Yeah, top 5. Easily.
Oh,
I'm Isaac. Who are you?
Oh, well, I'm Declan.
Nice.
I'm less enthused than I was just seconds ago about this show. It's been a week.
Yeah.
It's been 7 days.
A huge week. Not for me personally, but I
Not for
imagine
me
someone
either,
out
no.
there has
Yeah.
been
It's
vibing.
been a massive one.
Now, are you feeling that, we're getting towards the end of the lockdown now? It's only December 2nd is going to be when we're done.
Yeah,
day
and
after
then
my
we
birthday,
can do what we want
and
out here.
then we are free, and that's Britney Spears' birthday. And to celebrate, what will you be doing as soon as lockdown's over?
I'll be probably doing all the work I haven't done.
Okay. But anything fun? I meant like you can be getting out and about, hitting the club.
Well, I'll be going to work and back. That's for sure. I have been doing that anyway during the lockdown.
Okay, but this will be a special
because there'll be more people doing so.
Yes, more people, more safety,
and that's big. Yeah, because what we do, we intimidate the virus. Yeah. We say, don't come over here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What about yourself?
Oh, it's going to be crazy. I'm not doing anything different, but everything that I do the same, I won't feel the same while I'm doing because I'll know that I could be doing that thing.
Well, what's
in a
interesting?
Cafe.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is that kind of like everyone's been stealing your thing, haven't they?
I know,
which is sort of just sitting indoors, not talking to anyone.
Yeah, being a sort of recluse.
Yeah,
a lot like
and like a sort of normal recluse as well.
Yeah, well, I suppose, but in the old days of reclusivity, you only had the trees for friendship and comfort. And now I've got YouTube videos of trees.
Yeah, so
sometimes in 4K.
And that is big. So I suppose what will change for you is that you'll finally have the novelty back of being a genuine rather than a state mandated shut-in.
Yeah, I do like it when no one's around and when I can just be and just exist in the space. The space
Isaac only puts on clothes when I'm coming in because that's how he lives.
I'm always clothed at all times. Just a little fact check there, live on air.
The shower. Now that's a very clothed place. It's a clotheful place.
We've got something of a special ep today, and it's something that we've not really been teasing directly, but I guess it's fair to say that the entire trajectory of this show has led up to this moment.
Yeah, and also that people have independently been calling on us for this content, not knowing that Isaac already, within the caverns of his mind...
Thank you for pointing out that in the chronology of this, I have been doing this for longer than anyone has requested it of me, because I'm ahead of the curve and I'm a trendsetter in that way, and it's only because of it being Sunday, the Lord's Day, that we released the show, that you didn't hear about it earlier.
Yeah.
I'm talking, of course, about Ernest Cline presents Ready Player 2.
Now this is like a follow-on from when I did that bit about Ready Player One.
You never did that though.
No, I didn't.
That
because
was the problem.
It made me too angry.
You were a coward of the words.
I did it for the good of myself. There was self-care not reading that book, honestly, because you know how angry things can make me. Mm-hmm. That was more. That was more. I probably somewhere on the hard drive of my now deceased laptop that's under my bed probably still have the little file of me making notes
on Ready Player One.
Yeah.
How far did you get? Was it page 2?
The prologue. It was page 13. I think I made it to, and it's like an audio of me. I would just read and then hit record, and you've never heard someone sound so fucking miserable in all your life. When I listened back, it was just going, work like down and down and down until it was like one of those tapes that people leave before they do a Columbine. So I thought rather than do a Columbine,
just stop doing.
I just stopped reading the book.
Is that advice you'd give to other people who are doing massacres? There's a causal link between stop doing your tape.
If you find yourself doing something that leads you towards that, I would stop doing that thing. Yeah.
Let's dive in.
Ernest Cline is the Joyce of his generation, no cap.
Now, as you mentioned, you never quite got around to tackling the, let's call it what it is, magnum opus of Cline's catalogue, which was RP1. And the film, which I went to see in the cinema, not because of enjoyment, although I did enjoy elements of it. And I suppose as a whole, I did enjoy seeing the story just come to life in a way that,
in a way that you haven't, because you hadn't read the book.
I have read the book.
Have you?
Yeah, I've read Ready Player One.
Why?
I read it for the same purposes that I spend a lot of time reading all kinds of things I hate. It's just an essential part of myself that I can't be allowed to be happy.
Oh, that's such a shame.
Yeah, I've read the whole thing, I'm afraid.
That's
I tell you
terrible
what,
news.
I've not only read it, I also, before I've sort of encountered parts of it twice, because before reading it, I started listening to it as an audiobook. Narrated by Will Wheaton, who has it is the most perfectly casted bit of audio, because his whole tone is like, I loaded up my 1985 piece of computer software, which only I knew about, and it was just like I did have to stop that. That was too much. I had to just say no, Will, no more. I'd rather hit my own head happen. So what I thought I would do is just write a brief summary, and this was actually harder than I thought, because it's a story where at once nothing happens, really,
and yet
but
there are
also
a lot of
there's
details.
so much detail. But I've tried to condense it into a 3-paragraph summary of Ready Player One, because I know that not all the listeners out there will be wise to what Cline's putting down. So here we go. Wade Owen Watts, and you want to, just as a little tip here, check out those initials. You see what they spell?
Owen Watts.
Yeah, have a think about
so
it.
So Owen being E-I.
No, it's the O. It's the O version. So it's not woo. It's wow.
Does that?
It never features, but I mean in a way.
Maybe in the second book.
Well, the first book wowed me. So I guess that
kind of, yeah.
He's a cool young gamer living in dystopian 2045, which is only 25 years away, where the world is all shit and that.
Oh, no.
Not in very specific ways, and not in what we would call detailed and fleshed out ways. It's just a bad shit.
So not world building?
No.
Oh, okay.
He lives in...
To be fair, that's fine. I hate world building.
Yeah,
I find it boring.
I like it if it's done organically, and if it's done in a way that never gives you all the detail of what the world is. Like I was watching Spirited Away the other day, because Anne-Marie's had never seen it, and there's a bit where they're on a train and they just go past all these things that could not exist in the same place or world or have the same tone. And that's good, because it makes you even less clear about what the world is. So it builds it up, but in a way that is more confusing than you would assume. For Cline, the opposite is true. He wants to be sparse with the detail, it's only where it comes to the world, and heavy on the detail where it comes to the gaming. Because that's really
the gaming,
where his interests.
the filmage.
Yeah. And then again the gaming.
And then the gaming.
Just to bookend that. He lives in basically a big trailer park slum, but all the trailers are on top of each other. So it's futuristic in that sense.
Right. It's like, so what he's done, he's sort of taken the trailer park element and then Japanified it in the way that he might.
Possibly.
They've made it into big tower blocks instead of.
Yeah, sure.
Wow.
Sure.
Who could have. Yeah, no.
Everyone there, and it seems possibly everyone everywhere, lives bad lives for reasons that are not super specified. I guess he ran out of time.
Yeah.
Because it's a short book, so there wasn't a lot of...
There's only several hundred pages.
400-ish pages to get through. Everyone's living these bad lives, and the only good thing at all is this ubiquitous VR platform called The Oasis, which I thought stood for something, but I can't find out that it does. It seems to me that it probably must.
Does it? Is it like written out as though
it's written in all capital letters, but that could just be a brand name.
Dots.
Yeah, no dots. It was invented by James Halliday, played by Mark Rylance in the film.
Yes, I remember.
Performance the likes of which you've never seen phoned in quite so
I was going to
obviously.
use exactly that phrase.
It looks like he completed all the filming, not only within the same day, but
I think
possibly
maybe
in the same
he
hour.
did, yeah.
Because he's never actually really in it. He's just appearing by video. And he might well have zoomed it in from his living room.
He was ahead of the curve on that one.
He makes some strange acting choices. Mark Rylance obviously a very good actor. And Spielberg is obviously a very good director. So I wonder what the conversation was, because he's sort of playing him as like a mischievous nonce. And that to me is an unusual choice.
I'm going to be honest. I think that was modelled after Klein.
Yeah, allegedly. It's basically a big Second Life / VR chat / World of Warcraft / Destiny / every MMO ever rolled into one. But also, crucially, it is society as well.
Right.
So it's not just a game. It's like, this is everything.
It's just another world that they have to go to as well.
Well, it's in fact a replacement world for most people, because they're living such, as I mentioned, bad lives for clear reasons.
Capital B, capital L.
That they gotta get out, and the Oasis came along at just the right time.
It's weird because I don't know if this is like a theme or something, but
go on, there aren't any.
They go out by staying in and going in.
Oh, okay. Escapism through the digispace.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a theme.
It's a bit like
the theme is gaming.
You sort of do this, don't you? You don't go out into the outside, you go into the computer.
I dive into the
Mary
USB
Poppins
port
style.
and see what will take me first. Wade's avatar, that's our protagonist Wade Owen Watts, who I'll refer to just as Wade from now on.
Okay.
He's going to be there in the second one, spoilers. He's the Ready
He
Player
lives.
2. He doesn't just live. He thrives. He thrives as only a gamer truly can. Wade's avatar is called Parzival, because that was one of the Grail Knights, and Ernest Cline, obviously, he does know about the past.
As in the Holy Grail, right.
Ones. So it's a medieval literature thing, which is good.
Parzival?
Parzival with a Z, with a Z for Zorro, for example. And it's a very cool name, because not only, as you already noticed, does it sound very cool, and it commands a certain immediate respect, I think you'll agree.
Well, I'd lick his boots.
Not only that, but there's also a kind of thematic thing there, because this idea of searching for a holy grail.
Right.
Now, it's not going to happen in quite that sense, because there is no god in the Oasis. Unfortunately, they haven't patched him in.
Well, Halliday, I suppose, is...
He's up there, but he is dead. So unless you go for a real Nietzsche kind of approach,
so's God,
I suppose. But Parzival himself, he's gonna, before you know it, be searching for things as well, and that's going to be quite key.
And what is he going to be searching for?
I'll tell you. Through a series of very reasonable, and may I just say, not at all contrived.
That's good.
That's a nasty term that I did read in some of the reviews, the word contrived. I also read the word Mary Sue, and its male counterpart, which I had not come across, Gary Stew.
Fuck.
Spelled STU,
no.
which I've never heard of.
No, we can just stick with Mary Sue.
But these are all untrue. I'd like to just put that to bed, because the way the narrative unfolds is it has that kind of inexorable plodding inevitability that you see in great plays, where it's like all the events mean that Lenny has to kill George. Spoiler. Or
famous
all the
play
events.
of Mice and Men.
Yeah, exactly. So through those good events, he ends up on this big Easter egg hunt within the world of the Oasis.
I'd say he'd probably refer to himself as just a hunter.
An Easter egg hunter, maybe.
Yeah, a hunter.
No. Oh,
go on.
He and his team of egg hunters or gunters.
Egg hunters. Yeah.
No, they call them gunters, I guess, just because it's a bit of a gamer word. It's quite a cool gamer word.
Is it a gamer word?
To say gun... Yeah, it is.
Gunter.
See,
I've not heard it anywhere else.
Gunter. I call you a gunter.
You could say anything in that... Well, don't.
When I'm
you could say anything in that word.
We often refer to you as Big Decky Gunt. And that's just one of the ways that we talk about it.
I'll be leaving her. And I'll be leaving you.
Now, I feel I've skipped over some of the detail here, but don't worry, I'll get to it.
Okay.
Basically, all you need to know is Halliday, he has that mischievous nonce energy, and part of that is that he's left this big quest to gain ownership of the whole Oasis, which, let me remind you, is basically the whole world. There's nothing else in the world.
So you'd be a sort of god.
You would be, basically the big god. There is a whole thing I haven't mentioned, which is that his company, since he's died, has been taken over by some waste man who is wants to win this egg hunt, this gun, if you will.
I won't.
To bring it back into his capitalistic control. And in that way, yes, you're right. It is satire, and it is a political.
It's a Marxist novel, is that what you're saying?
For sure.
And he's an avowed socialist, is he?
I'm almost certain he doesn't make that too clear, but if we read subtextually, then it certainly isn't a novel.
Comrade Klein, is that what people call him?
Possibly, yeah. So they're gunting around, and in so doing, they're going to exploit Wade's complete lack of any character flaws other than is poor to beat everyone at everything, because all the challenges relate directly to painfully detailed 80s nostalgia, of which he is an expert.
Why is he an expert?
He's an expert because
I thought he was just some sort of spunky little tween in 2045.
In the 2046 world, yeah. 2045, you're right. 2046 is Ready Player 2. I'm getting ahead of myself. I can't help it. I'm so excited.
It's soon after. It all kicks off again straight away. Oh, wow.
In another way that you're going to find natural.
That's
organic.
Good. Organic, yeah.
But yeah, the reason he's such an expert is that he basically gets off to reading all of Halliday's diaries non-stop. And the idea is that the diaries all contain clues for the Gunt. And he's like, no one understands Halliday quite like I do.
Hang on. He's not...
Go on.
He's not like a loser.
Wait, no. His initials are WOW. You idiot.
I know, but apart from that...
Let me throw this back at you. He's a pro gamer. Can a gamer be a loser? I didn't think so.
Oh, no. Well, you raise a good point.
Absolutely. One of the challenges, for example, is, and I think this is the first one, which he finds while at school in a bit that I've reread and still can't really work out. It's just...
Can't pass.
These events just sort of collide rather than cause each other. It's just 1 minute he's at school and then he's gunting it up. And he's just suddenly on his first...
So if any of my students are like, sorry, sir.
Whoa, I gotta go and play Joust in a cave. And yeah, he plays this video game that coincidentally he has already mentioned he happens to be just the best at.
Oh, that's pretty convenient.
It's super convenient. And this is a theme, and it's hard to unpack. Normally, what happens in stories like this, the kind of hero's journey, is about a character that has to undergo a process of self-betterment in order to overcome previously unovercomable hurdles.
Yeah.
Klein subverts that format, and he makes all of the hurdles less hurdles and more just kind of stepping stones, if not just a travelator to the end goal.
Well, the other thing that I've noticed is that these sorts of narratives tend to, if it's not about self-betterment, then it tends to be that our hero is, in a very kind of broad sense, a chosen one.
Yeah, that's true.
Simply by dint of being a chosen one, rather than that they specifically were good at these three games / knew these films very well.
Yeah, so maybe
Harry Potter.
He's not amazing at anything.
No,
but
he knew Flipendo more than anyone.
Yeah, only in the game, sadly.
But he wasn't there because he played Sonic a lot.
Yeah, he wasn't.
And he was going to beat Voldemort in the big Sonic championship.
Arena. Yeah, Voldemort never knew about Sonic. And that's his tragedy. Never learning how to love. That's really
that's one of the sadder things
of Romeo G.
that you only get if you read very much between the lines.
So another of the challenges is that they have to, and this one at the time struck me as I had to look into Ernest Cline at this point just to check that he wasn't doing a big satire on the very genre he has sort of created, because he has to act out word for word the film War Games.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this one? I vaguely remember this.
It's so strange, and it's so boring an idea that Spielberg looked at it and was like, no, we're doing The Shining. First of all, I've never seen the film War Games, and I have no interest in doing so. And second of all, there's just... I don't know, call me old-fashioned, but there's nothing very fun about reading someone reading the script of War Games.
No.
Just, that is
you
the
old
challenge.
cynic, you.
That is all they have to do.
Yeah.
And he knows it line by line because he's been perving right up in his diary.
Oh, right, okay.
So he knew that
hang on a minute, and Halliday... Oh, I see. Halliday wasn't writing the script out in his diary every day.
He wrote it.
Oh, no.
No, he didn't. He just says, I like War Games a bunch of times, and he's like, oh, I'll watch War Games, and he does.
And I'll watch it so many times that I know the script in case I ever have to recite it and be in it.
Yeah, the only things Wade does in the kind of Act 1 of the book to establish that he has a character outside of the Oasis, and really that should be a very important part of a novel, which is about the contrast and the tension between reality and the virtual world. You would think that there would be a lot more time spent showing what his shit life is like and why he escapes to the Oasis and why the power fantasy is manifestly stronger and more of a draw for him than it would be for anyone else. Like Charlie Bucket. You spend ages, you don't get to the chocolate factory for 4 hours in the film. And when you do,
He's
it's
been
full
told
of-
to cheer
full
up
of
a bunch.
terror. Yeah, exactly.
There's some old perv who gets him in the alleyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slugworth's him right up as
Yeah.
well and all. And there's a man
All
who's
over.
like, up the airy mountain, and down the rushy glen, we dare not go a-hunting for fear of little men, and then walks off, and Charlie's like, don't know what to take
Then he
from
sees
that.
those little men later, and,
He's
and
like,
they're like,
"Oh, those
Kill
men."
Bill music starts playing in his ear.
But yeah, the only thing that Wade does, I'll caveat this with, there is one action scene outside of the Oasis where the company come to try and like turn off his internet, basically. And he has to run away. And then maybe his aunt
They
gets
call the PlusNet man, tell him to cut the
I think
cord.
his aunt gets like trampled or something, or like a caravan falls on her head, like the Wicked Witch of the West or the East, I assume. But anyway, that's the only thing that happens. And other than that, the only
And
thing
is
he
she
does,
okay?
No,
Oh.
she is dead. The only thing we don't linger on that. He's not that bothered. The only thing that happens in the real world is he has like a DVD case of just war games, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, shit like that, Back to the Future, and he just watches and plays.
Hateful.
Yeah, that's all he does.
Hateful.
Now, the final bit of the summary. His journey culminates with a big fight of largely random and IP licensing agreement based selection of huge characters. You've got like Gundams, maybe Godzilla's there, maybe Optimus Prime. It's that kind of
Oh
vibe.
fuck! It's big. It's
They're doing a
apocalyptic.
big battle of each other, and what happens is it becomes this sort of like anti-capitalist collectivist narrative of
that's
like
good.
all of the people who know they aren't they're not Wade Owen Watts, but also don't want the big corporate guy to win the challenge. They all like battle against the avatars of the corporation. So buying him time to do the great big gunting he needs to do for
And
the
what's the
good of you and
final?
I.
Where's the final egg?
Having learnt nothing, Wade solves the final puzzle, meets his hot avatar GF Artemis, and the ears are 3. That's pretty cool. He's going to meet her in person.
Oh dear!
And she
Oh,
turns
I'm
out...
digging
oh,
my nails into my leg.
I don't want you to be too repulsed by this, because I know how you feel about women. But she turns out to have...
Not good.
She turns out to have a birthmark.
Oh.
Now, she is still
fuck.
hot, but Ernest does point out she does have
No,
this
she's not.
birthmark. Now, she's a pro gamer. That much is going without
Having
saying.
no birthmarks, that's a necessary, not a sufficient condition for being
It's
hot.
a shame. But do you know
Yeah.
what? Wade, he's different from you and
So
I.
she's probably played or voiced by someone really like hideous or something in the
No,
movie. Oh, go on.
no, just your standard sort of hot actor. But the thing is, she was made to feel insecure about this birthmark
Oh,
that her avatar didn't have at first. But by the end of the film, she's uploaded that as a PNG, her birthmark,
Right.
dot ping, and it is added to her Avi.
I think she should probably get rid of it.
The thing about Wade is he sees through all that because he is a nice guy.
He's a better man than me.
And do you want to know what else Wade sees through? And I only just remembered this bit. His best friend in the world of the Oasis is called H, spelled AECH, for no good reason. And H is this kind of frat boy character, a tall, kind of laddie guy, white, I'll specify, and a pivotal moment in the book when their shit's kind of hit the fan in the real world
Yeah.
and they're having to be in the Oasis while also being on the run in real life. It's very exciting. I'm sure you can tell from my voice. It transpires that H is actually a black female lesbian character. And the thing about Wade is he doesn't see colour and he doesn't see any of that. And he's like, H buddy, we can still be friends. And
Even though he
catfished Wade and
Right.
turns out to be a black female lesbian woman rather than a white Chad man. H and Wade says they can still be friends.
This book is PC gone mad, isn't it? It's-
Well, that's one way. For me, that was a moment of real transformation, and just to see how inclusive a text
so
could be.
it's not Wade. He's not a kind of anti-miscegenation kind of candidate.
No, exactly. Like
Oh, wow.
Wade represents, I think.
You'd think he was too busy watching War Games to be on left Twitter.
To know about intersectionality, but he's done his research, and for Wade, gunting is praxised.
Well, I think we could all learn something from that. We could all do a little
You're
more
right.
gunting.
I think you're right. Anyway, she's got this birthmark, which signifies that she's a well-written and complex female character. And now, because they've gunted the night away, they're in charge of the whole goddamn Oasis, the whole thing. He shares this honour with his gamer crew, and they've all not really learned anything, I suppose, across the course of the narrative, but they do become, instead of learning anything, the richest people in the world, as should be our main life goal.
Well, yeah.
Not the learning part, which is,
No.
if you'll excuse my language, it's for cucks.
I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you said it here on the show.
Which brings us up to Ready Player 2.
Oh, God, that wasn't it.
Ready Player 2 came out only like a week ago. So it's fair to say that we're ahead of the curve. I just want to reinforce that fact that here at That's a Shame, we're giving you exclusive content. Exclusive in the sense that you could, I suppose, read the book, but I know you don't want to.
No.
And so I'm shouldering that burden for you, so you don't have to. Pause for applause.
So,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, the way I've formatted this, I haven't done one of these before, but I did used to watch a video series of someone reading the Twilight books, where they would give some quotes that are relevant and some notes that are relevant. Quotes and notes. And I guess that's how we'll go through. And I want to invite you, Declan.
go on.
You used to be an English student, a student of English, and then a teacher of English. So I do invite you to comment whenever you'd like.
Oh, thank you.
If you notice a device that slipped my attention, maybe some alliteration, maybe some zoigma,
And
maybe
after-
the device of gaming.
After Bob Honey, my ear is attuned to the old alliteration.
I would have thought. Then I want you to just dive in.
Does, like, Ernest, because he, Sean Penn, he was big on phonetically writing out offensive accents. There's not any of that.
Not yet, but the book is yet young.
I suppose.
Young. A word on the format of Ready Player 2. As I recall, Ready Player 1 is just in chapters. And I guess for Ernest, in hindsight, this was one of his great shames. Because there's no chapters in a game.
Don't tell me that it's in levels.
It's in levels.
No.
And not only is it in levels,
Oh, no.
it starts with a chapter that is called Cutscene.
No. I was going to say this.
So we'll only be looking at Cutscene today. It's not super long, but it is super good. So don't worry about that.
Good.
We start with picking up almost immediately after it was left off.
I was just going to say, it's weird how he could even think of anything more to say.
And this is going to be a real theme of the opening act of the book,
Right.
is that so much of it is trying to solve the problem of, like, he clearly didn't think when he was writing it. And, I mean, to his credit, this is probably the only correct thought he's had, that book was going to warrant or be economically successful enough for a sequel.
Need a sequel.
But then,
Because it seems like at the end, our pal Wow,
yeah.
he had,
Everything
he
you could
controlled
possibly have.
literally the entire world.
And also, it seemed as well that, like, it seems like a one-time only thing where the great creator of this thing has left you a quest.
left a quest, like
Because
one, because you wouldn't leave two quests.
It would be stupid.
You would just leave one quest.
Double quest, perhaps. And also, the whole, like, motivating action of Ready Player One's quest is that Halliday knew he was dying and he needed to pick an heir, Willy Wonka style, to the throne.
And the other thing as well is, like, there could only be so many things that he loved.
Yeah.
As much as he did that
War Games.
one scene from War Games.
Yeah, no, it was the whole film, just to be clear. It's the whole film of War Games that he loved and that what's his name, Wade had to recite to win the gun.
He had to recite the entire film.
The whole film.
Well, now, hang on. I didn't know it was the whole film.
Yeah, it's the whole fucking
So
film.
wait, in the book,
In the book, you don't just get, and now here's the film and it does a script. But I mean, it feels like that. It feels like it's in that level of excruciating
how
detail.
long? Because
It must
if
be.
you're not going to do the whole film,
Yeah, why
what
do it?
you can't do, like, and so I did the opening scene, then like asterisk, and then like, later like I was an hour and 20 minutes into the film War Games.
I hate to
when
stop
I was
you,
saying
but
the word.
you can.
No, you can't.
It dips in and out, as I recall. Maybe
I'm so angry.
maybe
that
as
he
a little
has
bonus
all
app.
this money.
as a little bonus Patreon app, we'll read the War Game scene from Ready Player One.
No,
just
I've
for
already
your
got
enjoyment.
some more Ernest Klein for our Patreon.
After I won Halliday's contest, I remained offline for 9 straight days. A new personal record. So we've started with a very different Wade, an offline Wade.
That's better than you've ever done. To
It's really impressive, and you've got to know that's growth. Basically, what happens in the opening is that he's vibing in his huge corporate CEO corner office in the skyscraper from which the company, which is called GSS, which stands, I'm sure you'll be pleased to know, for Gregarious Simulation Systems. That was Halliday's company before he RIP'd, and we will pour one out for him. Maybe a little
Name of the
moment
father.
And this is the company that he now runs with his pals. I think there are 4 of them in total. There's Artemis, who's actually called Samantha. There's H, who I can't remember the name of. And then there are 2 boys who live in maybe Japan. And they don't have characters other than are good at fights. And know of anime.
That's not a trope or anything.
No, it's probably not. I mean, I haven't looked it up, but that's probably
Ernest,
not.
Conrad Klein, he wouldn't do that.
He would have done the research. Yeah. We learned that the other 3 are scattered around the world, and I wanted to read this quote in particular to learn about where H is. And what I like about it is that one of the criticisms that people often make of so-called woke literature which tries to bridge the gap of inclusivity
PC literature,
is that it's often heavy-handed, and it will be like, I went to visit my girlfriend who happened to be trans and disabled and a campaigner for fat rights and all of these things. And Klein, he manages to skirt that neatly.
Yeah.
With this gentle reminder of H's ethnicity, which, as I mentioned, formed a revelation in the end of Act 3. H was enjoying an extended vacation in Senegal, a country she dreamed of visiting her whole life because her ancestors had come from there.
Her ancestors?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
it was her ancestral home.
Samantha, that's Artemis. She's just in Vancouver. She's just hanging out. But she's not going to be there for a few more days.
That's like the white Senegal. That's
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
That's very cool. So there's mirrors there already setting these characters up in delicate,
that we're all the same.
and balance.
Yeah.
I needed to distract myself until our reunion, so I decided to log back into the Oasis and try out a few more of the super user abilities my avatar now possessed.
The super user
He wants to log on and just be a mod, like be an admin, and just like, I don't know, just like ban people.
Imagine being a mod of society. It'd be the most boring job of all time.
He hops back in. We've learnt that they're all scattered around. He's logging back in with this, quote, brand new top-of-the-line Oasis immersion rig, a Habashaw OIR 9400.
That's relevant.
No need to know that.
That's relevant.
No need, Ernest.
No, that's going to be a big detail later.
And when he logs on, there's this very funny image, which is just that he logged on exactly where he logged off, which was at the scene of the great big battle outside Anorak's castle. Anorak was the avatar of James Halliday, who appeared as a even noncier-looking old wizard
No way.
with a big magic cape.
He was really saying the quiet part out loud with his own
for
Abby.
sure.
Yeah.
And so he logs on, and there are just like thousands of people who've just been waiting for him to log on for 9 days, and they all just start like, "Yeah, fucking Wade,
He's back.
he's back. There's nothing to do now. That he's
Possible.
back." But
Come on, super user,
Like,
give us something to do.
I understand the idea of like, we can all dunk on people who like camp out for the Apple launch or something, but at least it's a physical experience. Like this would be like camping out to watch
For an
a
online
YouTube
concert,
video
yeah.
or something. It's just like, what can you do? You could have just taken a screenshot of his avatar last time. I also like the idea that with all the levels of like future tech, there's no functionality for like, let me know when that person comes online.
Yeah.
So like, well, the only thing to do is to wait the 9 days.
just stand there, yeah.
We gotta. As soon as
or
the
that,
avatars...
or that like no one had managed in the real world to send him a message being like,
When
hey,
you're back."
there's a lot of people hanging about.
They're crashing that bit of the server if you could come on and use your super user powers. As soon as the avatars in my vicinity spotted me, they began to run in my direction, closing in on me from all sides at once. To avoid getting mobbed, this has big like, and then they stood and clapped energy throughout. Yeah. To avoid getting mobbed, I teleported inside the castle. This is a new super user ability.
Is that a super user ability?
Yeah.
That's a bit OP, to be honest.
Well, yeah, it is. And I'm interested to know how they navigate his super user abilities, because they are going to render an already overpowered character just totally imbalanced.
At least, in the old book, he was only overpowered because he was a fucking nerd. Like, now he actually is powerful.
He's the embodiment, and I'm sure this is not an original observation, of the, like, while you did X, I studied the blade.
Yeah.
Like, I mastered the blockchain kind of vibe. To avoid getting mobbed, I teleported inside the castle, into Anorak's study, a room in the highest tower that I alone could enter. It all has that tone as well of like, I was the only one who could do this cool thing that only I could do. Me, Wade, with my super user powers and my big cape.
I used my right click to get inside.
It's so good. That I alone could enter thanks to the robes of Anorak I now wore. Ooh, and they're obsidian black, and that's a nice colour word. That's a colour word, obsidian.
That to me speaks to an evil character.
Interesting. Very interesting. And we'll see if that gets picked up. Here's a guess. I don't think it will.
Oh, okay.
He teleports into Anorak's study, and the only reason he's done this is to go and look at the... Now,
hang on a minute. What is that from the outside? Or because initially you said he teleported inside Anorak's castle.
Yeah.
And it feels like just a bit showing off to then, if you're already inside, to just teleport to a different room.
I think he teleported straight to the study.
Okay, that's
because
good.
Wade, he's a good guy, and he wouldn't
Like
dunk on people.
if I could teleport, I would teleport from here to work. But like, I wouldn't then teleport from the staff room like to 2 doors down. Like, I think I would just walk.
would. I for sure would.
You
I'd teleport.
All of your muscles would atrophy within one
Who
week.
needs them? I'll teleport my atrophied corpse all over the gaff.
You can teleport, but you end up on the floor wherever you are.
Just collapsing like a rag doll. Now, one thing that I didn't mention is that usually the terminology Easter egg, which comes from the kind of Christian-ish tradition of an Easter egg hunt, is a metaphor. And by metaphor, I don't know if you know, it means it can't be the actual thing. So if I said, oh, that bottle looks like the bottle was a cup, but longer, that's just kind of what a bottle is. So it wouldn't be metaphorical.
No.
In the world of the Ready Player One universe, the Easter egg hunt is 4 eggs. So you are trying to find eggs
And
themselves.
they're not. When you say eggs, you mean literally like.
They're not the eggs of a chicken. They're not the ovum of a chickenoid creature. But they are big eggs.
They are egg shaped.
They're eggs in the purest sense of the word.
You could crack them to find something inside.
That's a lovely idea you've had there, and I begin to wonder if you shouldn't write Ready Player 3.
I shouldn't.
I think you might. So he goes into the study, and the only reason he's gone there is to look at the egg. He wants to have a peek of the egg that he won.
In Ready Player 3, Wade just has to recite all our best steps.
He wants to peek at the egg and just be like, wow.
See what might be in.
Wow, I want... Well, no, he doesn't think there is anything in
okay.
it. He just wants to look at the egg. You know when you just
He's not thought that far.
You just need to look at an egg. And that's what he needs, is to look at the egg. And this is going to be an instigating event, if you're familiar with the terminology. Because the silver egg, orb, now, all of a sudden, has an inscription on it. No other avatars could enter this room. No one could have tampered with my egg. So there was only one way that inscription could have gotten there. Halliday himself must have programmed it to appear on the egg's surface.
Oh.
It could have appeared right after Anorak gave me his robes, and I'd just been too distracted to notice. Now, personally, I wasn't satisfied by that explanation, because it's already kind of a bit hand-wavy.
It's very retconned in, isn't it?
It feels to me like a somewhat ill-thought-out idea.
Now, just as a question, because perhaps I missed this, Anorak is Halliday's Avi.
Yeah.
Is he still about then?
He's fucked. Well, he was about during the course of RP1, and he then, I think, takes his leave, but there's no reason why he couldn't continue to be about. Because he's like...
Couldn't he just run the place?
I suppose not, because I guess he's only been programmed in a limited way. It's not quite at the level of sci-fi where you can like implant your whole consciousness into the avatar. So the avatar could only do scripted events. Although I will say that some of the scripted events did seem suspiciously tailored to Wade's particular plight and course of actions.
Hello, Wade.
Hang on. It's just got that like iToy technology where it heard his voice and then stuck his face on. But yeah, so Anorak I think is out of the picture, but I would be very surprised if he doesn't appear back to do an annoying speech at some point.
Maybe he slithered in and scribbled on the eggs.
Yeah. I also just think it's quite shit to make the inciting incident I was just looking at the same egg. You'll remember from the end of the last story. Remember the thing we were searching for the whole book?
I went back to it.
It's that, but this time it said one other thing. It's basically the plot point of like, oh, what's this at the bottom of the scroll? I was like, well, could have checked that.
Did you check the other side?
It's really quite bad. The inscription on it is this sort of like, it says GSS 13th floor, vault 4286755309. And it's telling him, he realises instantly, and this is one of the things I like about Wade, he doesn't waste time explaining his thought process. He just knows.
He doesn't waste time not knowing things either.
He
That's
just
what
has
I seem
chosen
to
have
noticed.
knowledge.
And it
helps him
makes
along.
me feel quite inadequate because I, as of yet, haven't chosen to just
You've got
have
to
the knowledge.
You've got to make that choice.
Is that what you're doing going
I'm trying
forwards?
to. I'm
Okay.
trying to channel Wade. I'm really hope that he can become a kind of gamer godfather to me, even though he's from the future. He knows that this is telling him to go to the office that he was already in. So that's kind of emblematic of how handy everything is in falling into his lap. It's like, oh, you got to go to this place that you're already in and use the knowledge you already have to solve something I may as well have just told you
May as well,
to begin with.
I may as well have just given it to you. You know what? Scrap the hun. Just take it.
Sorry, Gunters. Looks like we got ourselves a new god. But yeah, he just sort of is there, and he goes to the 13th floor, and there's no problem. In fact, on the way, everyone's just kind of
Everyone's giving him money.
him, clapping.
Jacking him off as he walks up the stairs.
That's very good. There is a slight character flaw here, which I must draw attention to for the sake of balance, which is that because he's running everywhere, he thinks people are looking at him and thinking he's a bit of a character. So he is a bit eccentric.
Oh,
But then so is Halliday.
and his name's Parzival in here, isn't it?
Yeah. Not back in the office, though. They'll just call him Mr. Boss. Mr. Bossman Child.
Is the office in the real world?
The office is in the real world.
And where is that? Where he is now?
His physical body is in the real world. His Parzival avatar is in Anorak's study.
Right, but then it says to go somewhere, and
Where
that
he
is
already
where he
is.
already was,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
in the real world.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
very handy. So he goes into a lift and he presses the 13th floor.
Right.
According to the interactive building directory on my phone, which is just such a cumbersome opening clause to a sentence, the 13th floor was where the GSS archives were located. Of course Halliday had put them there. Now this tone is one that you're going to have to really get to grips with, because
I don't know that I can.
it's this like, I don't know what you could call it. It's not really like joke format, and it has the cadence of someone who sets themselves up for a fact. You know, if someone knows a fact,
And they
we've
want
got
to
certain
shoehorn it
friends
in.
who I won't mention who do this a
Yeah,
lot.
they do.
Where you have a fact that conceivably could relate to the conversation if it took a particularly specific set of turns.
Right towards what you
Right
wanted to
towards
say.
U-Town, and where you're like, well, of course, it's no like striped tomato, which reminds me, the tomato is like, it has this quality about, where he's like, I do this thing, and then he's like, of course I do this thing, because Halliday, one of his favourite TV shows was Max Headroom. Network 23's Hidden Research and Development Lab was located on the 13th floor.
Yeah.
It can't be there for any
That
other
was
reason.
big.
And, because that might not be it, the 13th floor was also the title of an old sci-fi film about virtual reality,
Ah.
released in 1999. Right, stop me when you think we've got enough information. Right on the heels of The Matrix and Existenz, which is not a film I've heard of.
No, me
E
neither.
capital X ISTEN capital Z.
I don't want to see it.
Full stop. So that's good. He's there. And
I'm just going to throw this out.
go on.
I love to know the years things happen.
I'm so fucking glad to hear you say that. 'cause
Nothing.
by the end of this journey,
Nothing gives me more joy than when someone tells me what something is and then tells me the year that it first happened.
and then maybe explain like contextually what else had happened before.
what else
and
was happening
after,
in and around that
why
particular
that's such
time.
an important bit of the past as well.
It makes me feel. It gets me closer to the reference.
Yeah, and there's no good reference
Because people
unless
say
someone's
like,
explained
yeah,
it.
people say like, oh, it's The Incredibles, and I'm like, what? And they're like, The Incredibles 2004.
Oh, you mean the Pixar movie The Incredibles 2004, starring these
big.
9 people?
Yeah, of course.
Very cool, yeah. I thanked the guard and told him he could go as I scanned the doors. There it was. Number, get ready, 42. Another of Halliday's jokes. According to one of his favourite novels, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the number 42 was the, quote, ultimate answer to life, the universe, and everything. And I didn't know that. I don't know about you. Have you come across that one?
Can I say, this is the section that I sent you in a tweet.
Is it?
Yeah.
Nice.
And I can't tell you how devastated I am to find it's in the first cut.
Because it means we've got so much more to come.
I was thinking that like if you're gonna blow your load on the answer to life, the universe, and everything, it probably ought to be somewhere near the end.
No.
But no.
Oh my
it's
goodness,
the,
no.
It's the first thing.
This is him putting this flag in the ground.
I'll tell you what else I don't like. Sorry, no, love.
Oh, yeah.
Is the way that everything is equated.
In what sense?
Well, it's like Existence, The Matrix, Max Headroom, and Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yeah.
They're all the same thing.
Well, they are.
They're all
part
just
of the
the
game
same.
as Arsenal.
Like, they're just the same level of relevant
Yeah.
until something is more relevant.
Like war games.
Yeah.
The whole book is basically a long version of like the Redditor EUR starter pack kind of.
I mean, I think that the 13th floor thing there is the perfect example, because there's either a reason it's the 13th floor or there's not.
Yeah.
And the reason is either like it was Max Headroom or it wasn't Max Headroom. Like, what he's done there is like he's preemptively thought that someone's going to call him a normie for using Max Headroom, and so is thrown in the
Dear Ernest, have you not seen the 13th floor?
Or it could have been the 13th floor, this random sci-fi
I like the
movie
idea
that
that
I thought about.
every reference has to be overdetermined to shut down potential. Because imagine this guy's fans. Like,
Yeah, no, they're the worst people on earth.
He's kind of, in a sort of contrapasso sense, created his own hell, where like his whole life must just be answering emails from the worst versions of him.
The most pedantic.
Mr. Klein,
bores.
on page 22, you referenced A Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Did you not know the original subtitle is just endless? He puts in a code, and the code itself is another reference, one which he says a combination no self-respecting Gunter would have trouble remembering.
Is there such a thing?
And
Could such a Gunter exist?
Inside this vault, there is another egg. A silver egg. In fact, it's a replica of the final egg, but with no inscription this time.
No inscription this time, like there was no inscription last time.
So, I mean, maybe Ready Player 3 is another.
Maybe the next chapter.
Yeah.
Who knows?
The egg has no inscription, but it does have Touch ID, which is an upgrade from the previous eggs. And
How did
his finger on.
How did it have that if the egg didn't know that it was going to be him?
It's a great question. No one's answered that
because
yet.
this is a real world egg.
Yeah,
this
it's
isn't
a real egg.
So it's not like this is within the Oasis, where it could have been that because he then won, it's his avatar that can open the egg. This is a real world egg that has Touch ID, even though it's only been 9 days since he won and no one knew that was going to be the case.
Yeah, it's good that that's the case though, because it starts to question like, oh, well, what's possible in this world? Can we just get people's fingerprints for no reason and put them in an egg?
Well, we can.
Well, maybe we can.
Well, it turns out we can.
He does the Harry Potter snitch
This is
thing.
still cutscene. This is still the opening.
Yeah, it's just
how many
cutscene so far.
pages are we in?
Oh, well, I'm reading it on Kindle, so I can't really tell you.
How many pages on Kindle are you?
I'm on page, let me just bear with me there. We're on page 6.
6? Page 6?
There's a lot going on, I'm sure you'll agree.
Wait, hang on. Well, the page 6?
Yeah, I think so.
How?
I don't think it even started at page 1. I think this might only be about 4 pages.
Hang on. What?
We will pick up our
How
pace.
does he get this much detail into that?
He's got a super ability to bend space-time around
How
references.
fucking... You're on page 6 on Kindle.
Yeah. To be fair, it could actually be that I have fewer pages on Kindle because I have the print quite small. I imagine the text is bigger in a book. So we might be really on about page 10.
There's no way. Like, is it literally just that he writes the reference and then it's, I was in this tower, I went to this floor.
There's nothing that happens between references.
Right, okay.
That's incidental.
It is just, right.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's like,
that's good.
wow, the Matrix and this film and this film. Anyway, I arrived.
So
Anyway,
when we're
this other
taking
film.
the piss out of these references, we're not like, you're not
cherry-picking
colouring it by making it seem bad.
No,
when
'cause that's
there's
most
these
of the
really
book.
eloquent passages in the middle.
Yeah, no. If I come across one of those, you better know I'll read it in full.
Okay.
Inside the egg, which opens up like the Harry Potter snitch, there is a headset.
Probably not a reference.
And we're familiar with headsets because they're the VR goggles that everyone uses to access the Oasis.
Have we is there, like, sorry to interrupt again.
No worries.
Is there like a year beyond which there aren't references that you've come across yet?
I would say that the last one where he said 1999
Yeah.
is probably, that's really
The
pushing
most
it.
recent.
Really pushing it. And he calls it an old sci-fi film is quite unusual because everything is so like ensconced in 80s in Ready Player One.
Yeah.
My guess here is that this is a commercial decision only to appeal to slightly younger audience as well. Because I mean, I'm not that I would anyway, because it's stuff that I hate broadly.
Yeah, no,
but even if I were born in the 80s, like, I didn't know any of these references in the last book, really. Like, I'd heard of Joust, because I saw it once. It's like a bird playing an arcade game. But there were not many that I knew about. Whereas this might be an attempt to update it cynically to get the next generation of gamers involved.
The next
So we
generation
might
of
see
gunters.
Spyro. We might see the Hamburger.
I had to get all the Wompats in Crash Bandicoot 3.
That'd be so good. I can't wait until we're at an age where the next our generation's Klein is doing this for just stuff like,
The Spider-Man PS4 game.
it'd be so good. Inside is this headset, which he describes the design of for honestly a whole page. I sometimes, when I'm teaching kids about why you use metaphors, I'm like, well, sometimes it can be a shortcut to lots of otherwise boring information. Like if you were describing a spaceship, you could say, oh, it had these dimensions and this was the color and there was this, or you could just be like, it looked like a fridge with wings or something. And he is doing the opposite here. And he's really luxuriating in words like, or phrases like, a row of 10 C-shaped metal bands, each band comprised of jointed retractable segments, each segment a row of circular sensor pads on its underside. The whole
what I
thing
wanna,
was
like,
adjustable.
who-
Why mention that it's adjustable?
Who does he think is like A,
Getting
bothering
off to
to
this.
picture that?
Yeah.
Or B, is going to remember what it looks like in 2 pages
I'm
time?
hoping that it's going to be like crucial to the narrative, what it looks like, and its adjustability
Oh
in
my
particular.
goodness.
The retractable segment, just like we knew. It's some kind of Oasis peripheral is his decision. He doesn't come to that through any clear
It's
logic.
a what?
A peripheral, like the Wii nunchuck controller.
Right.
For the Oasis. So it's like you have your headset, but now this is like an add-on.
It's a headset
It's an
set.
upgrade. Exactly. He puts it on, as you probably would, I guess, and Halliday appears. Now, this bit was the main bit that annoyed me in the cutscene, because he appears as a video of his real self. Previously, he'd appeared as videos as Anorak.
Right.
And he notes that he must have filmed this shortly before he died, which is the same thing he noted every single time in the first one. So it is this whole thing of like...
Any sooner before he died, or
It's later, I think, at this
Okay.
point. So it is this thing of like, but there was one more thing that he also did before.
By
he
the way.
died. Yeah, like forgot to mention, and it's just like you could have come up with a different
Anything.
way of starting the
Literally
story.
anything.
I think. He explains that this thing is called the Oni. In fact, it's pronounced O-N-I, and he specifies that in the text. He pronounced it O-N-I. And basically, it's a thing that you put on so that you can, feel the Oasis. Like, you can touch stuff, and you'll sense it properly, and you can, smell stuff. It's like sensory language, but for the Oasis. That's just for starters, Halliday said,
shit.
as if
Sorry,
he'd heard me.
that's shit.
You like it. An
That's a
ONI
shit
headset
idea.
can also be used to record its wearer's
Does
experiences.
it stand for something?
It's the Oasis Neural Interface. Thanks
Sorry,
for asking.
yes. Yeah.
It can also be used to record its wearer's experiences in the real world. All sensory input, and you're going to love this, because
Hang on.
one thing...
So it's a camera.
Well, not quite. It's because it's directly into your brain. It's like that thing in Black Mirror, but it's not going to be as good as that very good Black Mirror episode with Domhnall Gleeson. You know the one I
That's
mean?
not the one.
I swear it is. Where
No,
he's
Donald
got...
Gleason's the one where he dies.
Oh, okay. Where
the
the
other
other one. That someone good bought the rights to make into a film and then
Robert
never did.
Downey Jr.
Yeah, he's never made it into a film. Lazy.
Hurry up.
One thing you might have thought was missing from this, because I know you're a pretty techie guy. You love the tech. You interface with the tech and you
can't
talk
get
about the
enough.
tech. One thing you may have thought was can we get some file types up in here?
Yeah. Well,
Yes,
we've been
we
missing
can.
that. Okay, go on.
All sensory input received by their brain is digitized and stored as a .oni brackets .oni phonetically file on an external data drive attached to their headset. Once that file is uploaded to the Oasis, the entire experience can be played back and re-experienced by the person who recorded it, or by any other ONI user, ONI, with whom they choose to share the file. Halliday managed a thin smile. In other words, and this bit, one thing that Kindle is good for is that it shows you bits that other people have highlighted a lot. So this must be a fave section of the fans so far. And remember, we're the diehards that are in on the ground floor.
Yeah, God.
So the diehards are loving this.
You've been camping out for this.
In other words, the ONI allows you to relive moments of other people's lives, to see the world through their eyes, hear it through their ears, smell it through their nose, taste it with their tongue, and feel it through the skin.
Stop! You don't!
He has to go for all of them.
No,
which I really
that's
like.
so bad.
Now, I don't know about you, but the first thing I thought of from his description is that this device is going to set up a fuck scene later on.
Definitely.
Probably, right?
I'm presuming that Halliday was putting it on all sorts of nonsense so that he could relive their nonsense.
Quite possibly. Halliday, it then is explained, is kind of outsourcing this problem of this device he's made to whoever his heir was. The problem is that he thinks it's going to be, and probably correctly, a game changer in the world.
Get rid of it.
That's one of the options. He does say, if you want, you can get rid of it because it could be dangerous.
That's what I do. Get rid of it.
Or you can see, he basically says it's a matter of timing and you have to be astute about when to release this if you're going to.
Can I just say, I reckon Wade probably will.
You think he will release it? I don't know. I see Wade as...
I think he's going to be astute with his timing. That's
possibly. But I can also really imagine a very fucking annoying, White Knight narrative where at the end he's like, I'm going to destroy this. Even though I love it, I've got to destroy it. Having already
used it all himself,
for all the fucking he can get his teeth around. He'll chuck it into the lava.
His tongue, nose, ears, thumbs around.
Skin. The concept of a brain-computer interface headset that allowed you to record playback and or simulate a human being's entire sensory experience had appeared in look how long this sentence is, had appeared in a bunch of Halliday's favourite sci-fi novels, TV shows and movies.
What year were they out?
Well, no, he's not going to explain them all, is it? There was SimStim, the fictional simulated stimulation technology William Gibson had envisioned in Neuromancer.
Stop!
And a similar form of experience recording technology had also been featured in Brainstorm and Strange Days.
SimStim sounds like a jacking off your
It sounds
Sims
like
characters.
a mod for The Sims where you fuck them, yeah. Two of Halliday's favourite films. If the ONI could do everything...
Don't say two of his favourite films.
He has a billion favourite films.
Don't say two of his favourite films.
It's honestly pointless to say. If the ONI could do everything Halliday claimed, then he'd once again done the impossible. Through sheer force of... I love the, this is a very kind of... Ayn Rand gesture here. Through sheer force of will and brain power, he'd once again turn science fiction into science fact. Without much regard for the long-term consequences. I also wondered, and you're going to like this, because Wade's a thinker, and I think that's what you're going to get out of him as a character, is that he doesn't just take stuff at face value, he's always churning it away, putting it through his great big prism of reference.
Yeah.
I also wondered about the name Halliday had chosen for his invention. I'd seen enough anime to know that Oni was also a Japanese word for a giant horned demon.
Stop it, no.
From the pits of hell.
Oh,
so that's exciting.
No.
That's pretty exciting.
That's bad news for the Oni.
So as I noted, he's outsourcing the ethics of releasing it to his then unknown heir, which seems irresponsible. And this is interesting because Klein takes...
Known to the egg, just
known
not
to the
to
egg,
him.
not to the man. Klein explicitly notes the benefits of similar but worse versions of this technology for disabled people in facilitating their movement of artificial limbs and stuff. But Halliday's not very worried about maybe making a sort of a toned back version that he could release to market to help people. He's not about that. It's all or nothing for James.
Okay.
The video then deletes itself for no good reason.
Nope, no need.
And he legs it back to his office with everyone sort of high-fiving him and going that crazy boss on the way. He's clutching the egg as well, I should mention, because I feel like that might be important coming forward. He then plugs in to the thing with so much detail that I cannot read it because it would take us all day. He talks about all of the warnings. He basically reads us the terms and conditions of the egg headset. And
untick this box if you don't want to hear future promotions from the egg.
I liked this phrase, this extract. I was grateful that Samantha wasn't there. He's using the name Samantha quite a lot now because he only learns Artemis's real name late. Right. And it's like he's divorced. It's like she's a new character, but he doesn't have to actually bother writing a new character.
It's probably how he's trying to get past the
BM. Yeah. I didn't want to give her the opportunity to talk me out of testing the ONI, because I was worried she might try to, and if she did, she would have succeeded. Brackets. I discovered that when you're madly in love with someone, they can persuade you to do anything. Which is an ominous phrase. We've also got the ONI documentation also noted that a sudden power loss to the headset could cause potential harm to the wearer's brain, which was why it had an internal backup battery.
Oh.
And I just put that there because I thought that was an interesting bit of world building that won't come up at a later date.
Now say that again, because I just want to double check the that's why bit.
The device has its own onboard battery, so that if it gets pulled off suddenly, or if the power goes, it can still stay powered, because sudden power loss will fuck you up. Big time.
Oh, right, I see. So I thought that it was saying that if it loses power, it would fuck your brain and it would fuck up the device. So it's got an extra battery, but that your brain would still be fucked.
Yeah.
But the device would be okay, which is the important point.
That would be good. A synthesized female voice prompted me to speak my passphrase. I recited it slowly, being careful to enunciate.
No.
Everybody wants to rule the world. No! It's just a little reference.
One of my favourite songs.
It's just one of those references that you've got. The terms and conditions bit. It looked as though Halliday had already made all of the necessary preparations to release the ONI to the public over 8 years ago, but he'd never actually done it. Instead, he'd taken the secret of its existence with him to the grave, and now I had inherited that secret. He has to sort of... It's like he doesn't think that his readers can retain more than a page of knowledge at a time.
Maybe they
So he keeps summarising after like every 2 pages and being like, so here's what happened. I got the egg, and then there were a headset, and now I've inherited the great big problem. Our chapter ends as follows. He logs in. He speaks his cool passphrase. I'll remind you, it was Everybody Wants to Rule the World. It's a song. Probably from the 80s.
Yeah, well, I think it is.
That's a reference then.
Tears for Fears.
Yeah. Oh, fucking yes. Fucking yes, man. As the timestamp faded away, it was replaced by a short message, just 3 words long. The last thing I would see before I left the real world and entered the virtual one. But they weren't the 3 words I was used to seeing. I, like every other ONI user to come, was greeted by a new message Halliday had created to welcome those visitors who had adopted his new technology.
Right, ready
Player
2! Oh! Shit.
Back then, the Sharonage was yours, that's in out tenor.
Wow. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single cutscene, and I think it's fair to say that we in this room, but we, the listeners as well, are all pumped to know where this is going. Now, I haven't decided what the format will be for future things, because there are quite a lot of chapters. I guess we could just keep it going as a once a month thing until we're done. Or we might do some of it on Patreon. We might do some of it in a video form. Who knows? Declan might do a little dance that he's been working on about the
dance.
ONI.
Very
and all of
angular.
the eggs that you can gun for.
No music.
But yeah, I take it as a given that you enjoyed it. Why don't you just tell me what some of your favourite parts of it were?
One of my favourite bits was when he said The Matrix, because I've seen The Matrix.
Oh yeah, me too actually.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne,
That woman's name
Hugo
I can
Weaving.
remember. Yeah.
There's the bit with the fighting.
And there's like a gun.
Oh, I don't remember that bit.
There's a
I
bit
take
with
your
a
word
gun.
for it though. What year was that?
99, I think.
Yes, I love to know that fact. And yeah, it's the detail.
Tears for Fears. Everybody Wants to Rule the World.
That's fucking
And
good.
what I liked about it was that it linked in really well.
Seamless.
Yeah, like it was thematically relevant that it be there.
One of the criticisms of Family Guy is that the idea of like a cutaway gag is kind of lazy writing, right? Because you don't have to work at all to incorporate the joke into the story, which would probably be the harder thing to do. And I think what Ernest has done, maybe as a direct response to Family Guy 2004 to present or whatever, is he just weaves them in. And so we would notice them, right? Because we're English lit grads and we're techsperts, right? We're used to like diving below
Early
the word.
adopters.
And
You'd have an Oni straight off,
I
wouldn't you?
bought one already. I've pre-ordered. But yeah, the way in which he manages to just integrate them into a narrative that calls for that level of detail is quite admirable. Because if he knows all that stuff, he's got to tell us about it.
He's gonna let us know. He wouldn't. What WoW is not gonna do is see a reference and just know it himself.
Yeah, because he
He's
wants
gonna tell us.
to take us along the gunting journey with him, and for that we can only be grateful.
Because if I were with him, and then he just started spouting dialogue,
Yeah.
what sounded like dialogue from a movie, and then he just kept going.
You'd be like,
He,
cool knowledge.
No, well, I wouldn't.
why?
I'd be terrified and angry. But when he then goes,
an odd response.
what I'm doing is I'm saying the whole script of this movie,
of the War Games movie.
of the movie War Games,
and he has
then
to act
prob-
out by walking through the sets too, I should
he'd
say.
probably tell me the year as well.
Yeah.
Then I would be like, that makes a lot of sense.
And it's cool.
And
you'd
it's
say.
necessary, yeah, and it's fun.
Yeah, and all three of those things would be true. And cool, necessary, and fun really are watchwords for the text as a whole.
That's powerful.
Which we will continue to plough through for the good of all of us. Now, we've got some stuff to plug. We'd love you to listen to all of this stuff that we have to plug. For example, we've got a Patreon over at patreon.com/shamecity. Declan's brought some Ernest Cline bonus content. I'm certain I know what it is. I think I brought the same thing.
You do, I think.
Is the watchword poem?
It is.
Let me just tell you, dear listener, that it's going to be a good bonus episode because here's a little fact for you. Ernie's written a poem about porn and you got to hear it to believe it. You could read it, but you wouldn't get the full experience of our sideways glance on text that I think you've come to love and respect. That's over at patreon.com/shamecity for just $5 a month. The price of, I don't know, whatever 5 $1 items would come to. You can get access to about 50 something bonus episodes, new ones every week, and more to come still. It's coming up to the Christmas season and it's Isaac's birthday on Tuesday, so why not chuck him a little birthday gift, a little Christmas reason for the season, and sub over at the Patreon. What else have we got to plug, Delk?
We've got... You haven't done email, have you? You haven't jumped... I haven't done email, have you?
No, I haven't.
Well, we've
People
got
are
an
going to
email.
want to talk about this as well.
Yeah. We've got an email, TAS,
Yeah.
that's TAS, at shame.city. You can send us anything. Thoughts,
Yeah.
feelings, cash.
References, maybe. Maybe just tell us about
Just send us an
reference.
email and it could say something like, Monsters Inc.
Or
2001.
maybe Terry Pratchett could say, and then that could be a hyperlink to loads of his stories and books.
That'd be good.
That would be really fun to have.
Terry Pratchett seems like he was a lovely dude. Never been less interested in reading anyone's
I've read
work.
one of them and I can't remember a single fact about it. I think he does seem like a nice guy.
I
but
find people who obsess over him often to be very boring.
it is a particular, it's not, Terry Pratchett is a very good version of this type of writing to some extent. Which I don't really mean as a criticism because I think he is a good writer and there are sections which are really good. Like there's the one that is quite famous, it's on Twitter and Reddit all the time, where he explains like capitalism in a analogy about a boot. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Where it's like a poor man can buy a $10 boot that lasts for this long, thought the character. Like he clearly had he was sound on lots of issues it seems. And has like detailed worlds, but not in the annoying way that Ernest does. No. So I don't begrudge.
Because they're his own.
I don't begrudge the Pratchett verse. It's just not for me.
No, exactly.
But yeah, if you've got thoughts on
He's like someone I kind of nod to.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
If you have thoughts, if you have
Send 'em.
feedback,
Email
if you have predictions as well, I have not read that much further ahead than this. I'm about 40% into the book. And that really could go in any direction right now. All that I know is there are references aplenty. Building up like
that's
a big
good to know.
backdraft behind
That's
the doors
good
we'll
to
be
know.
opening together. We've also got a
Discord, shame.city/Discord. We've got
place.
Twitter at Shame City Gang.
lovely place.
Get over there and you'll see some art.
Yeah.
You'll see some fun tweets.
All sorts. We might send like just pictures of different films that we know about. Like
Yeah.
we could photograph one of your film collection films and say where it was from, what year.
The year's
Maybe
big.
the director.
The year is big.
That could be important as well.
And then maybe some other things,
Trivia
that happened in that year.
or a goof.
But only if they were also good and art.
Yeah, of course. And we've probably got other stuff. Oh, reviews would be lovely. This was a good episode. We both know it. I'm not afraid to say. Shame.city/reviews is where you can put your money where your mouth is.
You didn't say that
my
after the
mouth
old
is-
men writing women.
That was a good episode too.
Oh,
It
okay,
was just
well,
disgusting and foul.
our friend of the show, Emily,
Yep.
was messaging me about that. And she said
Made her
that...
sick to her back teeth.
Because as you'll know, she's doing a PhD at the moment on
and
all
even
sorts
more
of
sickening
awful,
people,
yeah.
yeah.
So she was grateful, A, that it was kind of much more soft core than the stuff that she has to read, and B, that we'd basically outsourced the idea of analysing it from her.
Yeah, that's good.
But she did also say to tell you that if
Yeah.
we don't do bad sex in fiction this year, she'll kill you.
Oh god.
So
Wow, well if you want to threaten me directly, Isaac at shame.city.
And if you want to do it by proxy, just send it
send
to
it
me,
to
and
Declan.
I'll honestly say anything on it for you.
Until next time, and until we see you on the patreon.com/shamecity for this bonus porn poem, which is Nice Guy to the Max. It's the most neck
Nice Guy
thing I
TM,
ever
yeah.
read. I've been Isaac. You've been.
I have been Declan.
See you in the Oasis, gang.
Bye-bye.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder, my new home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you.